Hello friends, my name is Ruth.
And I am Sunny.
And this is Culture Shock.
My parents have been in Peru for almost a year now, and there have been many changes in their lives as parents, as grandparents, as in-laws, and also as parents-in-law. So we're going to see how that evolution has been, and it's something I never imagined. We're going to hear all of this from their side and also from ours. Let's start with me, the changes I've seen as a son, how our relationship was when we lived in India, and how it is now that we're living here in Peru. All the time I lived in India with my parents, there's a big difference that we have now compared to back in India. I'm not going to generalize because every family, every place, every state in India can have different customs and different lifestyles. But where I come from my village, the relationship between children and parents isn't so friendly, so close or so open. But now in Peru, that's changed a lot. There are things I never would have imagined would happen that are happening now. And I like it because it's a good change. It's a change that adds a lot to the relationship between parents and children. And one of those changes is to make a toast, to sit at the same table to make a toast with my parents. That's something I never would have imagined. So I'm going to ask my parents, how do they feel about this? Today we're going to talk about the changes you've experienced since you arrived in Peru. And one of those changes is making a toast, saying cheers, cheers.
Cheers.
In our town, women celebrate on one side and men on the other. They don't celebrate together like they do here. When there's a wedding or some event, the women gather on one side and the men on the other side.
Over there, drinking with the grandparents, with your mother, or even with your wife is not accepted. Here, it's normal to drink alcohol with your relatives and also with elders, but if you do that in India, you'll be judged and you could even get beaten. In our town, women don't drink alcohol, but here there are no restrictions at all. In India, men can drink alcohol, but sometimes it can lead to conflicts. That's why they think it's a bad habit.
Another change that's also important and that I also like now, it's like joking or talking like in a friendly way, like very amicably, openly with my parents. In India, it's like you keep a certain respect. It's not that I've lost respect for them, nothing like that, but I think now there's more communication, there's more trust. This is what gets lost in India because it's a somewhat conservative society. Over there, they believe you can't speak openly with your parents. You can't even talk about your problems. You also, hide them. But here it's a great relief. It's a big advantage. You can speak openly if there's something to discuss. You can also argue with your parents. You can share your point of view. But that wouldn't have been possible in India. The second change is communication with elders. Sometimes in India, children don't share things with their parents. They don't tell them about their problems. But here it's different. Here you can talk about your problems. You can talk to your parents or elders, but in India, it's not like that. I've even seen this change here. In India, I was a bit more introverted, but here it's different.
I've noticed this here too. The children speak openly with their parents and also with their uncles and aunts, but in India, they're embarrassed to share their things. It's because of the culture.
I've noticed this too.
Another change is also in the way he dresses, because I had never seen my dad wearing jeans. I had never seen him wear polo shirts, more youthful clothes. He always dressed like a regular gentleman from India, but now his lifestyle has changed quite a lot. My sister also told me that. She challenged me, saying if you can get Dad to wear jeans now that he's there. I told her I'd take on this challenge. And yes, he wore those clothes and they fit him well. It's not that we're trying to change him, but rather that we're experimenting with things, living life in a different way. Most importantly, no restrictions as long as they're comfortable with it. There's also a big change in my mom because she had never worn a jumpsuit before. She never wore a long curly or grew her hair before, but now she does sometimes. That's a big change. I've mostly seen that in them, so let's see what they have to say about it.
Once your uncle bought me jeans for his wedding. I tried them on but didn't go outside because I was embarrassed. I had never worn jeans before. That's why I was afraid of being judged.
I have a question. Why is it wrong to wear jeans? Why wouldn't it be well regarded? What would be the reason?
From what I understood, it's more for young people, like for me.
Of course, do you consider it to be for a young person?
Yes. If an older man dresses like that, they say, look, does he think he's a kid? So they judge in many ways. Now, something very important as a couple, how your life has changed. In India, there was always distance, and children, in-laws, or nephews were always around. But now it's been almost a year that they've been living alone, practically like a couple, lovebirds. So we're also going to find out how it feels to live like this. And I want to emphasize that this is the first time they've lived like this alone. Because in India, it's very normal to live in a family, like a joint family, as they say, with your parents, with your siblings in a big family. But living like this, just the two spouses alone, is a bit difficult. So let's ask them how they feel about this.
Since I was little, I have lived in a joint family. So at first I felt lonely. Sometimes I really miss my children in India, but I like living in peace.
Joint family has pros and cons.
Here, there's a saying, together but not mixed. That means they support each other, but they don't live together, because that can bring problems, conflicts, and also arguments among family members. Here they can live together in the same house, but on different floors or apartments, so they have their own space. When there's a celebration, they celebrate together, and when there's a problem, they can also support each other, but they don't interfere in each other's lives.
If a couple lives alone, far from their parents, and they have arguments, there won't be anyone who can help them solve their problems. And this can lead to divorce, because each one will think they're right.
But what do you think about this system?
The coin has two sides. This system has its advantages and also disadvantages. And there are things here that we like, but there are also things we don't like. And it's the same with Latinos. There are things about India that they like and things they don't like. This is normal, but there is a big cultural difference.
I do like this system because everyone is busy with their own business and nobody interferes. Everyone is happy in their own life and they don't interfere in others' lives. That's what I like.
The biggest wish of my Indian parents is for their children to live together. If they don't get along, they can separate.
If they live apart from the start, marriage would be better.
I've had a lot of problems living in a joint family. Before, when something happened, they blamed me, but they still have the same problems and keep blaming me. I've been out of the country for a year now. I don't talk to them. How can it be my fault? That makes me think it never made sense for them to blame me for everything. Because now I see that even when I'm not there, they're not happy. They keep living with problems they create themselves.
Speaking about the town, not in general, I'm talking about the town. So there are things my father-in-law hasn't noticed, maybe because he lives there, or he hasn't felt it. But my mother-in-law has, because she's a woman, and well, it's nothing new to say that life for a woman in India, especially in the villages, is pretty difficult. And well, my mother-in-law now realizes these things after living here in Peru. That's why they have different perspectives. And I think that for my mother-in-law, these changes she's experienced here in Peru have been, you could say, more beneficial for her, because it's a change that has brought her a lot of peace, right? A lot of peace. It's a change that now makes her see life in a different way. So that would be the reason why they both have different perspectives. Also, my father-in-law has been at his parents' house. Their children stay with their parents. So the daughter-in-law moves in with the family, right? Life between a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law can be complicated at times depending on the mother-in-law. Now, changing the subject, I want to tell you a little bit about how my in-laws' lives changed with a Latina daughter-in-law. Over there in India, I think, well, there wasn't really any change because, well, just a few little things, right? Minimal. Yes, a few things changed, but very minimal. Since I was in his country, I naturally had to adapt, right? When a foreigner goes to a country, it's the foreigner who adapts to the country. And so I had to find a way to adapt there because I was in his country. Now they are in my country and they have also adapted little by little to certain things. And I, as a daughter-in-law, can say the same thing that Sunny said, right, about the toasts. In India, well, it's almost impossible, especially in a village, for the daughter-in-law to be drinking or making toast together with her in-laws. It's very complicated for this to happen unless we're a super open-minded family, right? But in the case of the village where my in-laws live, it's impossible. Even less so for women. Few women drink there, and if they do, it might be in secret. But like that with her father-in-law, no. You might also remember that in a video we recorded in India, I mentioned that we were going to a restaurant for the first time. And my father-in-law didn't go because he couldn't sit at the same table with me. His sister-in-law was also there. So it would have been complicated for him and he didn't want to go. And here, well, we sat down, even for long hours. We've talked with my parents when my cousins and my siblings were there, all of us together talking at the table. And I think for them it's also very new to sit at a table like this. And sometimes talking about my family, right? These lunches last so long that you start eating at 1 in the afternoon and don't get up until 8 at night. Because you talked a lot, and Sunny is a witness to that. I can't speak for all Peruvian families. My family does this. So that must have been very new for them. We'll ask them later. I want to tell you a few things first so they can tell you afterward. Another topic would be clothing. As you know, in India, when I was living there, women, especially as daughters-in-law, must wear traditional clothing. So being in their country, I logically had to adapt too. I wore traditional clothes. And here in Peru, well, it's not part of our culture to wear traditional clothing, right? And with them being here in Peru, well, they've seen me in jeans, they've seen me in t-shirts, in all kinds of clothes, even in swimwear. We've even gone to the pool and beach together, right? So that was a worrying issue that I even used to talk about with my husband. Like, hey, when your parents come, how are we going to handle this issue? Because I can't really hold back much on this issue since I'm in my own country. So yes, I can wear these clothes, but I used to think, what if I make them feel uncomfortable? That was my main concern. I don't want them to feel uncomfortable, but knowing they do makes me uncomfortable too. The first time we went to the beach, honestly, I think I had already seen them more open, to the culture. And well, I didn't feel uncomfortable. I also didn't see that they felt uncomfortable, and it was normal.
Yes.
My mother-in-law enjoyed the beach, and my father-in-law did too. Everyone, actually. And after that, the next times we went to the pool and so on, it was totally normal. Because in India, in my husband's village, there's also a kind of community pool, and they bathe in different shifts. Like women at a certain time and men at a certain time. They never go in together. That was something my husband and I discussed. What are we going to do since we'll both have to wear swimsuits? But no, it's been really calm. And during all that time, there have been a lot of changes with my in-laws. As a daughter-in-law, I've experienced that too. All have been positive changes and they've adapted well to the culture. And some things maybe not so much, but it's little by little. You also have to remember that they are older people. So it's not going to be like what happened with Sunny, right? Because he's still young. And it's been easier for him to open up to what we experience here.
Well, friends, now my parents are going to talk about how they've changed as in-laws here in Peru and how they were back in India. We'll also ask my mom about the differences she sees between daughter-in-law and mother-in-law relationships in India and here.
In India, it was difficult to go out together anywhere. We couldn't eat at the same table. We couldn't go out for a walk anywhere. But here it's different. We have traveled together, we have eaten together, we have celebrated together. I can't imagine this kind of relationship with my mother-in-law. I can't sit next to her. I can't eat together at the same table. I can't sit next to my husband when my mother-in-law is present.
Your mom is right. I can't sit next to her when your grandmother is there because culturally it's about respecting elders. That time you all went to eat at a restaurant in India, I couldn't go because your uncles and other people from the village would have criticized me. They would have said, look at her. She's going with her daughters-in-law and her sister-in-law to a restaurant and I didn't want any conflicts. That's why I didn't go.
Here, when I married Ruth, you danced with her. Did you ever imagine that you would dance with your daughter-in-law?
I never thought I'd dance with my daughter-in-law. In India, I wouldn't, since the culture is different. Yes, here I danced with Ruth. It's because of her open culture. Because you told me that dancing with her at the wedding is part of the tradition. That's why I did it. But in India, I wouldn't dance with Ruth or with Chetna. People would criticize me a lot.
All right, friends, my in-laws have told us about the changes they've seen. Also as in-laws, as a couple, and with their son as well. and they're going to tell us about some changes they've made in their lives. And it's because of the culture here in Peru, of course. As co-in-laws, because the relationship between co-in-laws in India is very different too. It's not the same as how they're experiencing it here with my parents. So they're going to tell us about it.
Ma, what changes are there in the relationship between co-in-laws? How would your relationship with co-in-laws be if they were from India?
The biggest difference is the veil. In India, a co-mother-in-law must wear a veil before her co-father-in-law, but this tradition doesn't exist here. In India, I can't even sit at the same table with my father-in-law, but here we normally just sit together at the same table. We travel together, we laugh, we can talk. This wouldn't happen in India. Even if I don't speak Spanish, we can sit face to face.
And you, Dad, what difference have you really noticed? If my parents were Peruvians instead of being Indians, then what kind of difference do you think there would be?
And I think mostly, above all, the food.
The food, right?
The food,
Food is a bit complicated.
it's a bit complicated, yes, because I've even tried chelita.
Cheers, cheers.
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 They're among in-laws like that. They toast, they do everything.
No, out of respect, very little.
We could have done it, but only if we hid. Not in front of children, grandchildren, or the family.
He says that they could have done it there, but only in secret. No, not in front of children or grandchildren like that. No, there's no family. Even if they're in-laws, they can't drink in front of the family.
Yes, there I can invite her to try Indian liquors. But separated like this, what can we do?
He says that there he would invite her to Indian liquors, but just like this, separated, that's it. Well, friends, these are some of the changes my parents have experienced here. They have adapted to this culture, and there are many more things. But these were the things that were the most important. And yes, there are many changes, and the good thing is that my parents have been able to adapt.
Of course, in just 1 year here, there have been big changes. And many people ask us when they return to India, how will their adaptation be? And Sunny also tells me that maybe they're going to have culture shock with their own culture. What is that called?
Reverse, I think it's called.
Reverse culture shock. They probably do have them because they've been here for quite a while, and well, we still don't know how long they're going to stay. It's already my father-in-law's decision, as I've mentioned several times. But possibly they will also have reverse cultural clashes. Well, we hope you really enjoyed this video. Take care. Bye.